audience today. Joe Waters, I really appreciate your coming in here and being with us today.
Hey, you've been hounding me to come in. I'm like,
that's
you know
right.
what? I want to see what your show is all about, and it's like, you know what? Let's talk about the city manager search, because I think citizen involvement is an excellent opportunity. Is an excellent goal.
Yes. Well, you've been involved on the citizens panel for the city manager, and apparently you've got an update for us today.
Well, first of all, I think they picked the right candidate. They picked James Antonin. He comes from Davis, California. He has a vast amount of experience. Both as a city manager up in Moorhead for 12 years. Prior to that, he was in South Dakota, so he has 2 or 3 different state perspectives, which I think is great for Maplewood. Most recently coming from Davis, California, where he's actually worked with a completely unionized staff, including unionized department heads, which is a rarity in this day and age. So he knows how to deal with those folks. I just think he's overall he's just a pleasant, warm, I don't want to say warm, but he just seems like a down-to-earth person. Okay,
so you're saying there is a union in
Davis, California, according to him.
So he's worked with unions.
He's worked with unions before, including unionized department heads, which I almost fell out of my chair when he said that. I'm going like, wow, we're not the only one.
Right. Well, you know, it's like we didn't get that much information out, and apparently they're still doing the background check on
That's
him,
correct.
Right?
From my understanding, sitting at the council meeting last Monday on the 22nd, Hennepin County Sheriff's Department is doing the background check, which was a good move. I think in a case like that, that should not be done by someone within the city. It should be done by an agency that's far removed from the city. That's supposed to be done as of tomorrow, March 1st. I'm assuming it was done as of Friday the 27th, and then they're going to present that information to the council on Monday, March 2nd.
I know there was some concern that we didn't do the background check before, and since it takes quite a bit of time, it would have been nice, or it should have been planned actually, to do the background check before they even went for the interviews by the citizens. It would have sped that up.
One citizen actually approached me on that, and they said, "Why would you do a background check after you offer someone a job?" Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, the job is conditioned that the background check comes back satisfactory. That is done even in the private sector. I would say, Frederica, if you want to come to work for me, I'm going to offer you a job condition on you meeting the background check, the physical ability check, so forth. So basically they're saying is, yes, I'm interested in you, but we're going to check your background, make sure everything's in order. Everything comes back in order. Yes, then you're offered the job. That's done all the time. So I can see why they wouldn't do the background check prior to the interview. Because in this particular case, had that been done, and say they had found something in his background that they didn't like, we were already down to 3 candidates as it was. We would have been down to 2.
Well, you know, a lot of people brought up the issues on why was it down to 3, there should have been 5, why the 2 dropped out. I mean, we can argue back and forth on the whole process and everything on doing that, but when you have interviewed people, let's say 5 or 3, and you offer a job to one person, and you find out they don't meet the background check, then what do you do then? I mean, you're kind of stuck because the other people say, well, you really didn't want me, or, you know, they're going off on a different path. It is very, very awkward to do that. I don't know what the costs are in a background check, but you'd think there would have been some preliminary ones, and what we had, or what we have right now, is we do have our acting city manager, Chuck All, who had been, well, there was a lawsuit in Shorewood, and what was it, $150,000 paid out because of that lawsuit, because of sexual harassment, and it wasn't released to us. He was hired and promoted as city manager with that lawsuit on his record. There was no check done, and I certainly wouldn't want to get in that situation again.
Well, first of all, it was Shoreview, not Shorewood.
Shoreview. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Second of all,
thank you.
In that particular case, if they didn't do the background check, that's a failure of previous management. That's a failure of the previous human resource director and so forth not to present that information. Or maybe it was presented. But the funniest thing is, since that was that was on public record and it was a public settlement, yeah, that would have been easy to find because The
It was in the newspaper.
Yeah, the person
I
actually
mean,
found it in
Yeah.
looking back at an old newspaper from
Right.
1993. And
Right.
so obviously it was there. So I say that's a failure on the people that should have did the background check when he was hired coming to the city of Maplewood. Now maybe they felt, well, when they brought him in 2001, that was 8 years ago. We're not going to worry about it. That's a decision that's the decision that whoever hired him made, and that rests with that individual themselves.
Right, but
As-
okay.
I was just going to say, as far as doing a background check, I'll give you an example. Say you want to be hired as a full-time firefighter in a large metropolitan city. We'll use St. Paul. Okay, they may, at the end of the process, they may have about 200 candidates that are eligible to be on the list. They may take the first 90 candidates off there, and they're going to say, we're going to look at the first 90 candidates. They may then interview or do a background on all 90, because really they only need 30, but they have to do that. They have the rule of 1 in 3, or they're interviewing 90 candidates to make sure they get to the 30. That's what they're kind of doing here. You're down to 3 candidates, but you're not going to do a thorough background check on all of them until you're ready to say, yes, here's an offer. Because then you're serious about the individual. And in answer to your question, I'm kind of babbling here. In answer to your question, yeah, they may do a background on the candidate they want. If something goes wrong, they still have the other 2 candidates they can do a background check on.
If they wanted to, the 2 candidates, I know there's some council members who perhaps don't want any of the candidates, what have you. I'm thinking of the issue of the background checks again, because like I'm a teacher, I have to go through one. And you would think in the history of whatever job they had, there was a background check, that at least you could do a preliminary one to make certain they quote-unquote passed, and then once you offer the job, a deep one if necessary.
Okay, that would then do a preliminary background check. If you hire a consultant, which we did, that's their responsibility to do that.
Right.
And that should be included with a packet of information.
Right.
Saying that, yes, this person has these degrees, yes, this person worked for
Right.
this city, and so forth.
Right. We hear today of so many people who get hired that didn't have the degree. So it would have been nice that through the consultant firm that they had done a background check on that. And I didn't hear anything about that. And of course, as we know, the consultants weren't too much involved. We didn't see them too much in Maplewood. And basically let Mr. Chuck All kind of run the shows.
Yeah, I was even surprised. I talked to someone else involved with the city, and they basically said when it came to getting information on benefits and so forth, that the consultant wasn't very involved. It's like, what kind of benefit package they have, put it together, and when it's all done, give it to me.
Right.
It's like you expect your consultants to do the research and put that packet together.
Well, I think if I wanted to pay someone to paint my house or, do some repair in my house, that if I'm paying the money, I expect them to work. I'll be watching them or expecting them to work rather than kind of sitting back and
Looking for results.
Right,
Exactly.
right. And the same thing with the consultant, especially in times of financial crisis or concern, that if we're paying for something, we certainly want it. And I'm kind of disappointed in what happened on that. So hopefully then on Monday, we're going to get the council to hire someone as long as that person does the background check. And I'm certainly hoping he's going to come to the Citizens Report or the cable broadcast so we have a chance to talk to him. I put back on the website here our community-based shared values and common expectations, so if we can get a little clip on that again on the computer. And Joe, you and I were just talking about that, and this is the www.thecitizensreporter.com that we have the shared values. Open government, not anonymous government. We've talked about before, create and maintain ongoing upfront citizen involvement in local municipal government, and again, upfront, ongoing. And I'm hoping the city manager will be into that.
From the feeling that I got from this gentleman, yeah, he's open. He even made the comment to me at one point. He says, you get the gadflies in every city, those folks that always come in and have something to say. He says, you know what, you let them speak, as well as the one person that comes in once in their lifetime to discuss an issue with with the council. So I suspect he's going to be real receptive to those folks.
Right. Well, back again on the www.thecitizensreporter.com, follow parliamentary procedure and protocol in government, and I'm certainly hoping that's going to happen so that the citizens know what the game plan is for the meetings and following it, and again, on the minutes, visitor presentations, what have you. What do you think about this with the required fiscal responsibility in government spending? Any hopes?
I'm hoping. I mean, he's coming from a state that's got a $42 billion